Since the fall, there have always been children that have been left alone or vulnerable. The Bible refers to them as fatherless or orphans.
My dad died when I was 5 years old.
We got kicked out of our apartment when I was 5. We ended up in an abandoned apartment with strangers until the police came and got us.
I was left at the orphanage when I was 3 weeks old.
The fatherless, orphans, have always been on God's heart.
I realized that I was going to be sent to an orphanage.
The workers would hold the babies, so I would hold them.
Sometimes, at our first foster home, I would sit at the edge of the bed at night and cry out for my mom.
God has always expected his people to care and provide for orphans.
As time went on, I realized that I was extremely lonely, and I wanted a family.
The early church responded to God's call. There were accounts of the early church taking in children who had been rejected by their Roman fathers and left to die outside the city. In fact, the early church became known for taking in the destitute and helpless.
There was a missionary family that came to the orphanage.
After a couple of weeks, we were taken to a new foster home.
They were different from other people who worked in the orphanage.
Fast forward a few centuries. At some point, something changed. The church got away from caring for orphans as we had in the past, leaving it to others.
Why are we not able to give every single one of these children a home?
The church is it. The church is the only thing on earth that can reach all of the world's orphans.
I could take you to 10 million villages in the world that don't have a clinic, don't have a post office, don't have a grocery store, don't have a business, but they got a church. We have the largest distribution, the widest distribution. We have the most volunteer manpower. Nothing is bigger than the church.
And the church has the mandate.
For pure and undefiled religion before God and the Father is this, to visit orphans and widows in their trouble and to keep oneself unspotted from the world. There's a lot of churchianity, there's a lot of religiosity, but real worship is going to do something.
The good news is this: the Holy Spirit is at work. There are a lot of ways to care for orphans, and the church is stepping up. Churches all over the world are responding to God's call to care for orphans.
God laid it on my heart to start an orphan ministry at our church.
So when I talk to my church, I talk about everybody needs to be involved.
And we began by getting a group together that we knew had a heart for missions and a heart for kids.
By God's grace, by churches working together, we will see no children waiting for homes in Colorado.
We never had to move again.
A friend of mine asked me, "Why do you believe in God?" I turned to my mom and said, "There's my proof that God exists."
And by the grace of God, the church is making a difference. Churches are starting adoption ministries, orphan care ministries, and foster care ministries, all in obedience to God's call.
In the last 15 years, probably 300 babies be placed into Christian homes.
There were 29 children that came, but several of the families adopted more than one.
And today, listen to this. 187 churches have chapters of this thing called foster care.
Our 6th and 7th grade Sunday school classes have more Russian-speaking children than we do English-speaking children. On Sunday mornings during worship time, when I look around, sometimes it doesn't even seem real. There's all of these children from all these different countries, and it is a picture of heaven.
140 million orphans sounds like a whole lot. But the church, we've got enough people, and we know what we're supposed to do. And we've got the Holy Spirit. We are the church. We are God's plan for the orphan.